us today in a Win and Strive co-sponsorship of this speaker series featuring Natasha, aka Mustang Marie. But before we get to the good part, we're going to tell you a little bit about Win and Strive and what we do. I'm Karen Lenz. I'm part of the WIN leadership team, and WIN, if you're not familiar with, is our women's initiative here at GTB. And our mission is to serve as an empowering network for the women of GTB by creating an environment that promotes personal and professional opportunities and supports GTB as the employer of choice for all. Our focus is primarily around providing resources and forums to support leadership and professional development, not only for women but for men as well, helping women to strengthen their networks, celebrating successful women by highlighting their achievements, and also creating awareness of issues and finding ways to resolve them. I'm going to turn it over to our Strive leads to talk a little bit about Strive.
My name is Danielle Haggerty. I'm a member of Strive. I'm actually in charge of our, the chair, if you will, of our knowledge sharing and icebreakers, so I have all the fun. But to kind of talk a little bit about Strive. So our mission is to actually create and cultivate an environment that attracts and retains young professionals by providing and promoting civic engagement, professional development, and networking opportunities to the next generation of leaders here at GTB. So we're just kind of like a group that meets every month, has a meeting, kind of get to know each other, talks to each other about what's going on within the agency, what can we do to kind of help each other out, how can we network, what can we do. So we have a couple current initiatives that we're doing, knowledge sharing. This is being one of those opportunities to kind of learn about what's going on in the agency, some cool things to talk to cool people. We have a reciprocal mentorship program that we're working to launch, which is actually an opportunity for those that are a little bit younger or newer to the agency to pair up with people that are more senior level and kind of have like this reverse mentorship program to see how can, higher up in executive levels kind of learn from people that are new and newer to the agency. We also have our intern mentorship program, which is an opportunity for Strive members to actually mentor the new interns every session. So that'll be kicking off really shortly since we have our new interns this year, not year, but this session, I guess. We also have an outings and events committee. Everyone is more than welcome to come to any of our events that we have, but every couple weeks or so we have like either a happy hour or an event where we can all kind of get together and like explore Detroit. I know there's one tonight with the Easter Market after dark. We have people that are going to that, so feel free to join. And then we also have financial literacy, which is an opportunity for us that are newer to the agency, newer to life after college, newer to moving out of our parents' houses, like an opportunity to like really learn how to like balance your budget and do what you need to do on your own so that you can actually be financially literate, since that's not something we all necessarily learn. Yeah, that's kind of Strive. If you have any questions about it, involvement or any inquiries, you can email strive@gtb.com and then check us out on stuff too.
For the fun part, but really quickly, I want to plug WIN really quick. It's not just for women. We are always looking for man ambassadors, and we have really great meetings, so come give us a try. And then for Strive, we're always looking for millennials for our Instagram Millennial Monday Takeovers. They're so fun. You can check out the GTB Instagram account, #Millennial Monday, GTB Takeover. Don't be scared, we coach you along the way. It's not an official takeover, it's kind of like takeover-ish. So we don't just kind of throw you to the dogs, we support you along the way. So check that out as well. So now for the great part. Where is she? There she is. So around the agency, she's known as Natasha, the social publisher, but to more than 15,000 people around the world, Mustang enthusiasts mostly, she's known as Mustang Marie. And I'm super excited about her story that she's here to share today, and I'll just share with you that I got a chance to meet her actually first on paper through a story that we did on our blog called Mustang Marie. What do we call our story?
Well, it was People of GTB.
Yes, People of GTB. And so reading the story, I thought, wow, this is such a fantasy, being able to be passionate about something and then turn that into something that pays the bills. I mean, it's kind of what we all want, right? But just getting to know her and just her unique story that, destroys gender stereotypes and her beautiful images, I was so intrigued. And then I met her and I thought, wow, you're kind of small. I mean, I was expecting this larger-than-life personality because her story, her persona, her images, and just what she's done so far in such a short amount of time is so big. So I'm super excited that she's here to share her story. I think you're going to really enjoy it. She's definitely one of the many hidden gems here at GTB, one of the things that makes GTB great. Hopefully after she talks, you'll get a chance to check out her story on Medium. And there are many stories out there. If you have a story, share it with us, and we'd love to feature you as well. Without further ado, Mustang Marie.
Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Natasha DeMellis, and apologies in advance because I'm still a little bit sick, so I might sound a little off. But before I begin, firstly, I would like to thank Win and Strive for having me here today. This is actually the second time I am talking at GTB. The first time was with the intern presentation, and it went really well. Everyone seemed to really like it, so I'm back here again. And as Delisha said, obviously, I am Mustang Marie. How many people have actually heard Mustang Marie around the agency? Let's get a round of hands. Okay, so some people have and some people haven't, so I'm gonna go through what that all means today. And, but before I kind of dive into the whole Mustang Marie thing, just a little bit of background into myself. I actually have a university bachelor's degree in political science and government, believe it or not, at York University, and a advertising and graphic design diploma from Humber College. And those might not sound familiar to you because I'm actually originally from Toronto. So I am Canadian, not sure if I have an accent or not. Some people say I do, some people say I don't. But I'm originally from Toronto, Ontario, and I moved to Windsor on July 7th last year. July 12th, which is the same day that I actually gave the intern presentation, was the exact same day that I celebrated 1 year of being at GTB, which is still incredibly surreal, but to kind of go from Toronto all the way to Windsor is definitely a little bit of a difference. But, and I commute over the border every single day. I have Nexus to come to this job because I literally love Ford Mustangs more than life itself, and if that is not apparent in this presentation, then I'm going to question myself at the end of this. But before I kind of go into, you know, how this 5'1" Canadian girl from Toronto, Ontario made her way to the big three, you know, home of Motor City, I need to start from the beginning. And when I say the beginning, I mean the very, very beginning. This is me. I am roughly 2 years old, and this is all I did when I was younger. You know, I didn't wake up one day and said, I'm gonna like cars today. No, this is the real thing. This is something that has been a part of myself ever since I was little. I would go to the shopping malls, I would see those car rides, and I would tug my mom's shirt and say, oh, you know, I want to go on the car ride, or I want to go on the motorcycle or the plane or the train. I was obsessed with transportation and just automotives in general. And even at a young age, I was always drawn to classic cars because for me, those are the kind of cars that have the most soul. I mean, I essentially have a 4-speed manual shifting tattoo on my right hand. I have horsepower written on my gas pedal foot, so I'm essentially half car, half human at this point. But like I said, I literally love cars more than life itself. And you're probably sitting there wondering, okay, why did I come to a presentation to see, you know, photos of Natasha when she was younger? Because it's really to prove a point that this all stems from passion. So even the whole point of this presentation is about turning your passion into a reality. It really goes to show you that this is something that has been a part of my DNA ever since I was little and has grown over the years. And if you think that's embarrassing and doesn't show you just how crazy of a person I am, I'm going to show you something, or should I say, a very embarrassing moment.
Mustang of your own, as well as $5,000 of performance racing parts, and it also qualifies you for the ride and drives outside. So make sure that you stop by and do that.
So as you can see, I am a little bit of a character. I pretty much react that way every time I see a Ford Mustang, specifically classic Mustangs, and I'll get a little bit more into that. But that was actually at my first Barrett-Jackson auction. For those of you who don't know what Barrett-Jackson is, it's the world's greatest collector car auction. They have 4 a year, and yes, I went to every single one, which I will talk about later on in the presentation as well. But again, it really just goes to show you that this is the kind of enthusiasm that I put into my work every single day because I literally love it more than life itself. So sometimes when people ask me, like, where did this all come from? I usually answer with this particular quote, is that I'm pretty sure it was a car in a previous life because honestly, I have no other explanation. My dad wasn't a mechanic. There are no racing enthusiasts in my family. There are no car lovers in my family. It's almost as if cars chose me. And it's something that I kind of live by to this day, and like I said, is really the only explanation I have to why I'm so obsessed with cars. But how does this relate to Mustang Marie, and why the name Mustang Marie? Well, my full name is actually Natasha Marie DeMellis. Mustang Natasha didn't quite have the same ring to it. Mustang Marie seemed, kind of has that nice flow, has that nice ring to it. Plus, I didn't want my full identity to kind of be attached to this character. I wanted a little part of myself to be in the brand, but not my full identity. So Mustang Marie it was. But how does that all relate to GTB and how I got the job here and whatnot, or even how I started Mustang Marie to begin with? Now, when I first got Instagram, I believe it was in December 2013, and Instagram was fairly new. I didn't really know how to use the program all that well. I'm like, what is this? Do we just post photos every day? Like, I don't get this whole app. It makes no sense to me. And I think I had posted one photo, and I didn't post again for another year. So a year goes by, and I was working at a advertising graphic design agency in Toronto called Doug & Surge. They've recently changed their name to Doug & Partners now. So we had come up with this campaign called the Social Donation Project, which essentially you would take a photo of your food and you would use the hashtag share, the number 2 feed, so share to feed. So that was the first time where I really started to understand the program. Oh, this is what a hashtag is. Okay, all these photos come together under this one hashtag and you kind of see all these, great photos of food. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. And I started understanding, what tagging meant and how you can tag different users and following different brands and whatnot. And essentially, for Instagram, what do you usually follow? You're going to follow things that you love. You're going to follow celebrities. So, for example, that could be fashion. You could follow Nike. Or in my case, obviously, because I'm an automotive lover, I'm going to follow Ford Motor Company and all the other different OEMs and different European manufacturers and whatnot. So there are also pages, however, where, let's say, for example, if you love Taylor Swift, there are also Instagram channels where fans actually make their own pages too. So it could be Taylor Swift fans. And I started noticing a lot more in Instagram as well. So being a graphic designer at Doug & Surge, and even those within the creative department right now, sometimes you have days where you're kind of slow, you're not really doing much. I had one of those days where, again, being a graphic designer, I wasn't on any briefs, all my projects were done. I've been following a page that really reflected my interests. So again, it's one of those pages where someone got together, they really love Ford Mustangs, they wanted to create a niche Instagram handle called Classic Stangs, specifically focusing on first-generation Mustangs, which are from 1964 to 1973. I'll probably be spewing a lot of facts at you, so that will bring out the nerd in me, but you'll see later why I'm talking about facts. But anyways, so there was a particular page that I fell in love with, which was Classic Stangs, that focused on first-generation Mustangs. They had about 20,000 followers at the time, and I really loved what they were doing. They were featuring owner stories, and for me, that's what's really important with Mustang, and I tell people that all the time. It's not the car that makes the community, it's the community that makes the car. It's really about the owners of these vehicles that make the car so iconic today, and why Mustang kind of pulls at everybody's heartstrings, and why it's probably considered, or if not, one of the most iconic cars of all time. So I had sent them a direct message that said, hey, my name is Natasha DeMellis, I'm a graphic designer, really love your page, love what you're doing. They had about 20,000 followers at the time, but I hated their profile photo. I'm like, I gotta do something with this. This is not acceptable. So with my spare time, I had developed the logo that you see at the top right here, which is Classic Stangs. And I said, hey, free of charge, you can use it, you don't have to use it, it's up to you. And the gentleman who runs the page loved it. He said, if I can't pay you, can I at least do something? And I said, you know what? Why don't you just credit me? You know, post the logo on your page, say that Mustang Marie designed it, and I will be a happy camper. So at that time, my Instagram channel was a little bit personal and starting to tap into some automotive postings here. Not strictly Ford Mustang, which is what I do now, but it was mostly just, you know, some Ford Thunderbirds and some Mustangs and, you know, Broncos and whatnot, and Rancheros and etc. So he had credited me, and being of a page that had 20,000 followers, what he would do is he would say, hey, you know, check out this logo that Mustang Marie designed, you know, you should go check out her stuff. Now, as a follower of the page, if you like what Classic Stangs is doing, you're probably more than likely to check out what other people are doing. So if they're featuring owners, you're going to click on that owner, which is what I did, to see what their car is all about. And that's how I made a lot of friends within the Classic Stang community as well. I would see these owners with these fantastic first-generation Mustangs. I would make friends with them. They would feature me on their pages, and it started to become a domino effect. So I started getting featured on a lot of automotive pages. Some pages with 20,000 like this one, and some pages that had 300,000. Again, more fan-made pages, but it was still something pretty great. So from that particular execution that they did, then I started noticing there were some people within the automotive community that started to create crews. So there was a gentleman with the username Mach428. His real name is Bill Mann, and he started this list of users to follow, and he called it the Ford Crew. So essentially, if you made that list, you were kind of a big deal, because he also had about 20,000 followers, and he was basically showing all of his followers, hey, if you like what I'm doing, you're gonna also like A, B, and C. So again, if you're following Mach428, you're more than likely to say, hey, you know what, I do like what he's doing. Let me see what Mustang Marie is doing. And this started to become a domino effect. Now, of course, being a woman in the automotive industry, I'm not always met with I met with some regard or some hesitation, because a lot of people think, oh, you're a woman, what do you know? Women can't drive, women can't do this. I'm like, buddy, please. Not only can I do donuts around you, I'm also a motorcycle driver and can probably pop a wheelie in front of you. So don't even get me started on the whole women can't drive situation. But I obviously had to prove myself, because a lot of people, when they think of women within the automotive industry, sometimes they'll go incredibly sexist. They'll be like, oh, you're just one of those car models, you just pose in front of cars, like looking half naked. That's what it means when you are a woman who likes cars. I'm like, no. There's a lot more to it than that. So obviously when I was being featured, I had to kind of prove to these people that not only did I love Ford Mustangs more than probably anyone else in this building and anyone on the face of the earth, but that I actually knew one or two things about the car. And this is where I'm going to start spewing a lot of facts and where my nerd is going to come out, but I apologies in advance. Does anyone know what the hell they're looking at, first of all? No. Sorry? Okay, so this is what's known, yeah, it's a sticker thing, that's what it is. This is what's known as a data plate, okay? They have VIN numbers and data plate information, and basically every single vehicle has it. It's essentially a birth certificate of the car, so it tells you, what year the car is, what color it is, where it was manufactured, et cetera, et cetera. So, this is where my specialty comes in. I'm kind of known as a decoder. I have memorized VIN codes from 1964 to 1973, which means that I am able to go down to any automotive auction, open up the driver's side door, because that's where this is located. It's also located on the engine bay as well as a classic first-gen Mustang. And I can tell you what year car, what manufacturing plant it was located in. By the way, there were 3 at the time, Dearborn, Metuchen, and San Jose, and there are letters that denote each one of those plants. I can tell you the body style of the car as well, so whether it was a coupe, convertible, or fastback. Then there was also the engine codes as well. So for example, this one is a C code, which is a 289 two-barrel car. people started to realize that, hey, not only does she like these cars, she actually knows one or two things about it. So that was already slamming all the stereotypes that Karen was talking about earlier and Delisha were talking about earlier. So obviously that wasn't enough. I wanted to do more things. So with my own money, I decided that I was going to go to every single Barrett-Jackson that was offered in 2015. Again, Barrett-Jackson is the world's greatest collector car auction. It used to be featured on Speed. It's now hosted on Velocity. You'll see hosts like Christy Lee, Chris Jacobs that go there, Chip Foose, Richard Rawlings. These are all people within the automotive industry that might not make any sense to you, but they're big deals, I can assure you that. And obviously, the top left corner, that was my very, very first Barrett-Jackson. The first video that I saw where I'm crying hysterically, that was obviously at the first Barrett-Jackson that I ever went to. And I thought to myself, is it possible to go to more Barrett-Jacksons throughout the year? So the bottom left, that's the one in Florida at West Palm Beach. And again, I thought to myself, can I do the other two in that year? So in the top right is the Reno. That's also, they no longer do Reno, but Barrett-Jackson was affiliated with Hot August Nights. Not sure if that's familiar to any of you guys, but it's like a massive car show within Reno as well. And that was actually the first time that I started to do videos, which you'll see the 4 of them on the side. And any time that I would go to Barrett-Jackson, what would I do? I would tag Barrett-Jackson in all my posts. When I would do videos, I would tag them in it, really showing them, hey guys, look at what I'm doing. I know my stuff, trying to at least get my presence out there. And it was really bringing these videos to my fans because they loved what I was doing. And then obviously the last photo there is the one in Vegas where something pretty amazing happened, which I will touch on in a bit. But these were the kind of videos that I was doing. This 68 GT350 has almost 30,000 original miles with original paint, interior, and period-correct tires. Also, the low serial number tells me that this one was probably one of the first ones produced. So a lot of the videos were very technical. I would be talking about the cars and the serial numbers, etc. But then I also wanted to inject a little humor into my videos too. So for example, this 65 Mustang actually came with a really rare option. Follow me. A free horse. And then incredibly technical. Another way to tell a 64.5 is by looking at the hood bumpers. You'll notice that there's a recessed Phillips screw here, and furthermore, if we scan over here, you'll see the original horn. Yes, I can tell like 65 Mustangs based off hood bumpers. That's how insane I am. And then again, another little bit of humor. I'm Mustang Marie, and this is a whole lot of wrong going on right here. We got a boss emblem, 302 with the Mustang pony, and then our Mustang script all together. I was super pissed off that day. I really wanted to like pull the owner aside. I'm like, guy, this is like not correct. But anyways, so when I went down to these shows and I started doing these videos, I noticed that a lot of people, really liked what I was doing, and I felt like, okay, I need to kind of expand my social media presence. So, I opened up my own Facebook page, Twitter, YouTube, and my own website, which I'm just going to show you here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see. I had opened up all the links in the tab just in case if any of my stuff wasn't working. But like this is my Facebook page, again, with the photo that that is included in the presentation and what you've kind of been seeing around the buildings, and then myself next to this gorgeous Mustang, oh my God, it's a Shelby. And then for Twitter, obviously what I would do is I would make sure that my brand was consistent, so I would have the same photo and cover photo for everything. We hear, all about that with brand consistency, making sure that everything kind of looks the same and from the same source. And then my webpage as well, and when you scroll down, this is where the Medium article is featured, and then I link out to all my YouTube channels. I'll also have a section about myself, etc., and my story and events that I've been to. So basically what started to happen is I had designed my own logo, which is the Mustang Marie that you see over there. And this is how much I had made an impact within the Mustang community. And that's why, even to this, what I do now, why people bring me into Mustang conversations, because I literally know the Mustang community more than anyone else in this entire building, because I'm the one that kind of goes to these shows, I talk with them, I have personal relationships with them. And if this doesn't prove that I am obsessed with Mustang, and that not only am I obsessed with Mustang, but that people actually respect what I'm doing, then I'm pretty sure the next slide will. People started putting my sticker on their cars. This is pretty much the equivalent to when like a fan gets an autograph of a celebrity or a tattoo of a celebrity. To have people submit this to me and say, I love what you're doing, can you send me a sticker of your logo so I can put it on my first generation Mustang? I literally like shit my pants, excuse the language. Like, I was crying so hard because I couldn't believe that people wanted to drive around their Mustangs with my logo on it, and it was like a talking piece for them. People would come up to their car, be like, who's this Mustang Marie girl? And they'd be like, oh my God, she's amazing, you need to check her out on Instagram. Like, this girl knows what she's talking about, she loves Mustang more than me. Like, I have people come up to me all the time when they see me react, again, video in proof. They're like, I have never seen anybody react to a car that way in my entire life. It's just absolutely insane. But to see this was just, the one on the bottom left is a good friend of mine, actually. He has a 67 coupe. It's absolutely amazing. He drags his car. He was the first one who actually put my logo on his car, and just no words. There's really no words to express what that means to me. Sorry, I'm just... So when I was talking about the Barrett-Jackson events, going down to these events, posting photos and videos, etc., what happened next? Barrett-Jackson decided to follow me on Instagram. Now, keep in mind that Barrett-Jackson has about, I think, 170,000 followers, or maybe 200,000 followers. They only follow back, I think, 271. I am one of those 271 that they follow.
271.
That they follow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm one of them. So I am on the same ranks as a Christy Lee, a Chris Jacobs, a Richard Rawlings. The fact that I'm even at that magnitude is pretty incredible, and just goes to show you that they respect what I'm doing and they love what I'm doing, that they are actually going to start to follow my content. So that was pretty incredible that that happened. But I thought, there's no way that I could possibly top this. No, but then I got featured on Ford's Instagram page, not once, but twice. So this was the first time, this was when I was still featuring other automotive products. So for example, this is a Ford Thunderbird. They had reached out to me, thought that it was, you know, a great photograph. They wanted to feature it. They credited me. So obviously, this is, you know, Ford saying, hey, what a beautiful shot, Mustang Marie. Can we have your permission to use it? Because obviously now, working in social publishing, you do obviously have to ask people for permission to see if they're okay. And then this is how, you know, how it showed up in the news feed. This is the actual shot on Ford's Instagram. And then I thought, no, there's no way that I could, this could get topped. No, then Ford started following me. So that was also pretty incredible that that happened. And then later on, I think it was like a few months down the road, they posted another photo that I took. Actually, I took a photo of my hand on a 4-speed shifter, and they thought that that was a really cool photo. So the, I guess a part of me is kind of featured in the photo, half of me. So that was pretty cool as well. So when I was going down to these shows, people really liked the videos that I was doing. So when I went to go open up my own YouTube channel, I decided to do kind of like a Sunday segment kind of thing, where I would basically feature a fun fact about the Ford Mustang. And I warn you, it is very fact-filled and rather boring, but knowing what my fans and followers like, they love this content because they were really just interested in knowing more about the car. So, and I came up with a clever, unclever name, but my video segment is called Mustangs and Marie. Produced from 1966 through to 68 as special promotion vehicles for the Colorado area Ford dealers, the story of the High Country Special, HCS, and California Special, GTCS, are intertwined. The HCS cars were distributed to 100 Denver dealers and were available in a 1966 powertrain and body style in one of 3 special colors: Aspen Gold, Columbine Blue, and Timberland Green. The case was fairly similar in 1967 as well. Now, it was in 1968 that the California Ford dealer saw the success of the program and decided to run their own limited edition GTCS. Out of the targeted production of 5,000 vehicles, only 251 were High Country Specials. And that's today's segment for Mustangs and Marie. Okay, so throughout the course of the year, where I was going down to these shows and going to local car shows and doing what Mustang Marie does best, I had received a direct message from Ford on Instagram. The publisher at the time who was controlling Instagram, her name is Lauren Kelly. She no longer works here, but she had reached out to me and said, "Hey, Mustang Marie, we noticed what you've been doing throughout the year. We think you're absolutely great. We love what you're contributing to the Mustang community, etc. You know, here's some coupon codes that you can use." So they essentially surprised and delighted me, which is one of the perks of being a social publisher, where we see fans within the community that are doing really great things, and we reach out to them. For example, I just got a 4-year-old a Mustang Power Wheels, and he literally lost his mind. That was really cute. His mother sent in videos. He took a picture of him sitting with an umbrella beside his Mustang, pretended that he was at a Mustang car show. I'm like, oh my God, this kid is the greatest thing of all time. It was really, really super cute. But so that's essentially what they did. They surprised and delighted me. But before I kind of get into how that ties to my job at GTB, I want to backtrack just a little bit and go back to Barrett-Jackson, because this is pretty insane what happened. So obviously, being within the Mustang community, I know who to talk to, who to reach out to. I know all the late model restorations and the CJ Pony Parts and the California Mustangs and Classic Mustang Rentals. Like, I know a lot within the Mustang space and who to talk to. So there was a gentleman who had a classic automotive company. Oh, well, he was basically a classic brokerage, and he just so happened to know someone who was a consignment liaison over at Barrett-Jackson, and he put me in touch with her. So I talked to her, and she said, "Hey, send me your resume, you know, would love to see you." It's very hard getting in Barrett-Jackson. Like, you can apply online, but it's, you know, being a Canadian citizen, the likeliness of actually getting a job within the U.S. it's very unlikely. Obviously, we all know kind of how that turned out. But, you know, she had actually printed out my resume and handed it out to Barrett-Jackson, which was pretty incredible that that even happened. So when I had gone down to the show in September, I was walking around with me and my dad, and then this happened. My phone rings. Hello. Hi, may I speak to Natasha DeMellis? Yeah, this is Natasha speaking. Hi, I'm the creative director of Barrett-Jackson. I heard that you're at the show right now. I was wondering if we could meet. Okay, I put my phone down. My dad looked at me straight in the face. He's like, "Is everything okay?" I'm like, "Barrett-Jackson just called me. This is insane." And they want to meet me. He's like, "Okay, cool." So I met with the creative director. He came outside with my resume in hand, and we had like a 5-minute thing. He wanted to know what agency I was working at, and just like a 10-minute thing. He introduced himself, and I introduced myself, what I did, what he did, etc. Just a quick chat, but still was really cool. So I didn't see him again until January, where I actually had a formal interview with him. He was an art director at the time in September. He had now been promoted to creative director in January. And this is probably one of the most insane things that happened, and it just goes to show you how much of a presence that I had, not only on the company, but just among Mustang enthusiasts and all. So if you've ever been to a Barrett-Jackson auction, the one in Scottsdale, it's like a 10-day thing. There's like 3,000 cars, thousands and thousands and thousands of people show up. I'm going to be repetitive right now, but it's to prove a point. Carolyn Jackson of Barrett-Jackson, who's the brand manager of Barrett-Jackson, owns the company, wife of Craig Jackson, picks me out of a crowd of 1,000 people, comes right up to me and says, "You're Mustang Marie. You came to every single one of my auctions last year. We absolutely love you." To make an impression on a brand manager of a company of that size, being this girl who all I do is post photos of Mustangs and do videos on Mustangs, for her to know who I am was pretty insane, to say the least. So I thought, there's no way that I could possibly top this moment, but then I did. Mustang 360 got a hold of me. For those who don't know what Mustang 360 is, it is the ultimate news source for Mustang news, essentially. I got featured on Mustang 360. I actually have relationships with them now, and I had my first article with them, which I will kind of show you right now. Kind of my story, pictures of me with my cars again, and as you can see, some things don't really change because I still take pictures of my cars everywhere I go. But it was essentially just, my story, so that was pretty cool. And then I would go back to the, oops, not Photoshop, I didn't want to open Photoshop. Then, so that was really cool, and I thought there's no way that I could possibly top this, but no, I did. I am officially featured in a Canadian automotive magazine, my entire story. It's in Autostrada Forum. I have a 5-page spread all on the Mustang Marie story, again, making connections that way as well. There's actually a picture of me over here, again, just to show you how much of a nerd that I am. If anyone's seen the movie Bullet, which was filmed in 1968, features a 1968 fastback S-Code engine. You don't know what that means, but anyways, there's a famous scene where Bullet actually takes a jump. So typically when people go to San Francisco, what do? They go to the Golden Gate Bridge, they go to Alcatraz. No, I went to a road where the movie was filmed on. That's what I do when I go to San Francisco. So I specifically spent all day trying to figure out where Bullet was filmed, and I finally figured it out, and I went to the exact same spot where Bullet takes the jump, and what do? I essentially pretend I'm the car and take the jump as well, because I'm a nerd. So, yeah, people started sending me direct messages on Instagram because they wanted my magazine. I've shipped my magazine worldwide, because they love what I'm doing, and they think that my story is fascinating, and they want to be a part of it. So I've shipped to places in London, in Paris, in the Netherlands, in Australia, Italy, a lot of people within the States, because if I had to pick a target demographic, you guys are definitely my biggest fans and followers. And then obviously my homeland of Canada, that's actually in the Shelby dealership over in Canada, which is which is pretty cool. So, along the way, I've also made a lot of connections with a lot of brands as well. Obviously, Barry Jackson, Ford obviously being the biggest one, but I've also made connections with RK Motors. RK Motors is the pretty much #1 searched dealership on the planet. I actually was offered a job from them, but turned it down to work at GTB. Dembesti, which is the world's largest Shelby Cobra dealer. That was pretty insane too. Legendary Motor Car, which also has a TV series on Velocity as well called Dream Car Garage. I also auditioned for Vegas Rat Rods, almost got the part for that, so I could have been on reality TV essentially, which would have been pretty cool. Carlisle, Pomona, Classic Mustang Rentals, California Mustang, etc. These are just a few of the places that I've been able to make connections with. And yes, I am. I actually am just wrapping up. So how that all kind of ties into GTB was that when they sent me that direct message, I obviously then took that as an opportunity to say, hey, I love what you guys are doing. Is there any way that I could possibly, work for you guys? And I had an interview set up in January of 2016. A few months later, in April, they had called me and said, hey, you're going to be a social publisher. You got the job. I'm like, what? I'm like, but I only had a phone interview. What do you mean I got the job? They're like, yeah, you got the job based off a phone interview. I'm like, that's insane, but okay. But I wanted to come down, check out the place to make sure that it was going to be a right fit. And I really didn't know that what I was going to be doing. Okay, I was a social publisher, but a social publisher for what? So I had met with the team, and I sat them down. I said, this is a really silly question, but what am I going to be doing? They're like, oh, we're giving you all a Ford Mustang. I'm like, hold the phone. Mustang Marie is going to be in charge of Ford Mustang. Yeah, sorry, Ma, Dad, this is happening. I am moving from Toronto, giving up everything, leaving all my family behind, because I get to work on this car every single day, and I couldn't be happier doing it. Since then, I've made some pretty incredible connections along the way. Not only was I featured on Mustang 360, but I now write for them. So I had my first article written for them as well about the #1 Mustang is in the museum. I wrote about the #2 Mustang. I drove 4.5 hours to see one single car because it was that important. That's what I do on my weekends. And so that was pretty crazy. I also I have my first interview with on Hot Rod Network as well, so that's pretty interesting. I can send you guys links if you're interested in seeing that. But I got to meet some pretty incredible people. For example, the couple on the right, that's the Marty family. Kevin Marty is responsible for the Marty Report. Again, though that kind of means absolutely nothing to you, but when you go to Barrett-Jackson and you buy a classic car, especially a Mustang, there's something called the Marty Report, which is basically the stuff that I know. So it decodes the entire car, tells you the entire history of the car. And it's really good to have this documentation, especially buying a classic car. So he's been working with Ford for over 30 years, and that's all he does is write reports for Ford and Mercury vehicles and whatnot. The gentleman to the right is, if you don't know who he is, I'm going to cry. But he is the original Mustang designer, Gail Halderman, of the 1964 1/2 Mustang. I got to meet him and literally cried for, 5 days. Because I could not, this guy's a legend. He designed the most iconic car of all time. Like, I got to meet him. That's insane. I don't know, that's all I have to say about that. And this is just really a quick recap. So essentially, I opened up my account on April 2014, and if you go through kind of this timeline, I spent maybe a year and a half just taking photos, doing videos, going to car shows to obviously make enough of an impression to get noticed by all of these companies along the way, and obviously now working at GTB on Ford Mustang social content. So Q&A, usually I always ask the first question, because everyone always asks this question, is do you have a Mustang? Unfortunately, I don't, which really sucks, but me and my dad are working towards getting a classic Mustang. I am turning 30 in 2 years, so I'm like, Dad, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Kind of a good 30th birthday gift, so we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's the plan, is obviously to get a first-gen Mustang, because if you're going to start with Mustang, you've got to start with the first, but hopefully it's to get every single generation of Mustang, which there's 6, by the way. So 6 cars, that's not too bad. I feel like that's a possibility, but anyways, that is the story of Mustang Marie and how I got the job here at GTB, and kind of the floor is yours if you have any questions for me. Yes?
I love your story, and I'm totally a fan. So one thing we talk about in WIN is confidence, and how studies have shown that women are less likely to kind of put themselves out there and, talk about how great they are. And I can tell that you're very confident. You have no problem saying, hey, I know my stuff, I'm good at this. What advice would you give people in the room who maybe have a passion or a dream but are kind of struggling with the confidence to take that next step and kind of put themselves out there, or start turning that into something that can be more public and become lucrative?
Yeah, I guess I would say just to start small, because there's so many people that I've come across that don't even have a passion, and that kind of that kind of really blows my mind. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have a passion? There must be something that you love or like. I would always say to kind of start there and to dabble in it. I mean, with me, I started really small. I just opened up an Instagram channel, and it was just this passion that I had for cars, and it was as simple as just taking a photo and just literally talking about it, that people started to respect that because it was very relatable. Because especially within the Mustang community, you're going to find a lot of people like me who talk about the car in the exact same way that I talk about the car. So I would just say, start small and really figure out what you're passionate about, and then kind of go from there. There's also, what was it called? I don't know if you guys have it here, but in Canada, we have something called Toastmasters. Do you guys have that here? Okay. So I've always been asked to kind of educate people on speaking in front of audiences a little bit better. They've always asked me to do Toastmasters, but if you're not confident in public speaking, for an example, I would always suggest either going to a Toastmasters or just taking some courses on that to kind of feel a little bit more comfortable in your skin and to be able to speak in front of an audience, or even do like a lot of TED Talks, for an example. There are people who do TED Talks all the time that I wouldn't say that they're public speakers at all, but it's really just, if you're passionate about something, it'll come very easily. So for me, as you can see throughout this entire presentation, I light up just talking about it. It's very easy for me. So I feel like if there is something that you're passionate about, the confidence will kind of come with it. Anyone? Yeah?
Hi, Natasha. I'm Andrew. You're such an inspiration. Also a big fan of you.
Thanks. It's weird. Every time I go to shows, people recognize me. They're like, "You're Mustang Murray."
Your story hits home to me because I also have a lifelong passion for cars, which in turn brought me here to UTV. So I wanted to know, while growing up, when you were a little girl, going to car shows, did you just study the car physically, or did you also take home literature, just read it alongside your other books?
So it was really weird because even when I was younger, I was always attracted to classic cars for some reason. Like, I never liked imports and tuners. I didn't really like exotics. I don't know, there was always something about a classic car. Like, for me, has the most passion. Like, I'm the type of person where if I see a classic car, I roll down the window, take a deep breath because I want to actually smell the gasoline and hear her roar and get behind the seat and, feel all that rumble. That's what I am. I'm still very much a purist at heart. So like, even if I do get a classic Mustang, it'll be like 100% original down to the last bolt, which is impossible to find. But yeah, going to car shows, I mean, throughout the years, I was always attracted to it, but I didn't really get so much into it until I started watching a lot of more car-related movies, like Bullet and the original Gone in 60 Seconds, and the remake of Gone in 60 Seconds, which obviously features the 1967 GT 500 Eleanor, which really stood out to me, and I write in that article as well, because those couple of movies were the first time in my life where I actually saw someone have a human relationship with a car. And Jeremy Clarkson always says that that's what kind of non-car people don't get. Like, they don't understand that a human can have a relationship with a car, but you can. And once I really started seeing that, I was like, oh my God, this reminds me of when I was younger and I used to, be on my stomach on my Hot Wheels car carpet and like play with my, Hot Wheels and, hum the sound of shifting gears and engine noises and all that stuff. I started getting more into it and started going to local car shows. And in terms of when it came to Mustangs, like, I actually I have a certification in automotive engines 1. I also have motorcycle chassis certification as well. So like, I do work. I no longer have a motorcycle, but I used to do work on my motorcycle. I wouldn't say that I can like disassemble an engine and like put it back together, but like, I know the basics of it. For some reason, I really just started getting fascinated with just understanding the history of the car and this decoding situation. I always thought that was really incredible to be able to tell someone at a show, hey, by the way, you're one of A, B, C, and D, and they would just light up and be like, how do you know all this information? So I kind of just gravitated towards that section, and now all I read is like book after book after book after book. So even if you go to my desk upstairs, you'll know that I sit there because there's Mustangs everywhere. There's Mustangs books everywhere. It's just Mustangs in general. So that was a really long-winded answer. But yeah, that's kind of what I specialized in, yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi.
So you've talked a lot about what you've done, and you talked about wanting to own a Mustang in the
Yes.
future, hopefully by the time you're 30.
Yes.
What other goals do you have, and I guess who else would you like to meet that you have left on your bucket list?
I would love to meet Dave Parasak. He was the one. Do you guys know who Dave Parasak is? Oh God. So he was the one who worked on the 2015 Mustang program. And you may not be interested, but I do highly recommend watching A Faster Horse on Netflix. I've seen it 8 times. I'm serious. I've seen it 8 times and I cry every time. But definitely him, Raj Nair as well, who also, he didn't really work on that too much, but he worked on the Le Mans programs, so would love to kind of meet him as well. That's basically it. I mean, I met Gail Halderman, like, I'm good. Like, to meet the original Mustang designer, like, that's like, yeah, he's still alive too. Oh, I met Carroll Shelby, forgot about that. Carroll Shelby's a huge one. He unfortunately passed away in 2012, but I got to meet him in 2010 when he was inducted into the Canadian Automotive Hall of Fame. So I was there, I got to like private tickets to kind of see him, and that was just crazy too. So yeah, I guess Dave and Raj would be the next one. And then in terms of other goals, like, obviously I only have my visa until 2019. Will GTB renew me? I don't know, you guys tell me. maybe, I don't know. Hopefully they do. If not, you know, I could always look at working client side, whether it's with the Mustang. I want to stay on Mustang, that's obvious. But you know, I am also very much an enthusiast, so I could see myself working on the Ford Performance as well in the future. I know Mustang 360 is very much interested in me. I know Barrett Jackson has offered me some stuff in the past too, and a couple of these other companies. So I have my options open. It's just the whole visa situation makes it a little bit tricky, but so we'll see. Any one of those areas. My mom wants me to go back to Toronto, but I'm like, oh, there's nothing wrong with there.
But how, I mean, because this was your passion and it's still being your passion, right? So how did you manage to adjust with corporate rules and everything? Because, I mean, you know, at the origin it was just your heart and your brain telling you what to put out there, and now you have to follow GTD and the client's rules to manage the social people.
So I find like with a lot of, like when it comes to Mustang Social, they obviously like look to me as a SME. So not only am I considered like a social publisher, I'm kind of considered a subject matter expert as well on the car, because I know like a lot of information that a lot of people don't know about. So for example, with the Mustang Creative launch, they asked me to be a part of it, because they're like, excuse my language, they'll be like, Natasha, you're gonna cut the bullshit. Like, you're gonna tell us like what this car really means. So like I was the one giving them insights, and one of the biggest insights that I had, which is what I stated before, is that the car doesn't make the community makes the car. Like, it's really, like with the hundreds and hundreds of Mustang clubs throughout the United States, and just how passionate people are about the car, it really is essentially a love story at the end of the day. So like I try to bring that into it, and because with social publishing, we're always considered to be front line because we're the ones talking to the community one-on-one, but it's still, you have a screen in the way. I'm the one actually going down to events and talking to people and, you know, saying, you know, what is, you know, how do you see Mustang on social media? Like, what would you like to see? How can we do things differently? And really just gauging their experience and trying to take all that information back to my people and say, hey, like, this is what the community is saying. And it is sometimes hard because I know a lot of people here will question me. They're like, well, we can't really ask Natasha because she has a bias of the car, and you know, we should be taking other opinions into consideration. I'm the type of person that I still like obviously know that there are a lot of Mustang owners out there that are not like me, and they're not loyalists. They just buy the car because they want the car to go from A to B. There are those people, very slim, but there are those people that I have to take into consideration. But at least I kind of balance that. It's like I understand there's those people, but there's also the hardcore Mustang enthusiasts that we can't forget about. And I'm the person there to kind of put my foot down and say, we can't ignore this, like I mean, when you look at the car, even if you look at the entire lineup, do you see a Ford Oval on a Mustang? No. You see a Mustang on a Mustang, except for the Fox body generation. We won't go there though. But like, it's a very different beast. Like, there is no Ford Oval on the car. It's represented in a very different way. So it has to take that into consideration too.
Yeah. We are out of time, so let's give a final round of applause. And if you do have any questions, feel free to stick around for a few minutes and definitely look up Win and Strive on stock.
I know someone did try to stump me on my VIN code knowledge the next day, and I basically put them in their place. They're like, here, read this. I'm like, this. They're like, oh my God. So you can try to stump me if you want.